Alright guys, so on today's episode we're going to be working at the back of the car. During Sixth Summer, one of my race events, we had a little problem. On day 4, I noticed that my parachute, this one you see right here, it actually broken a second tether. And if you're not familiar with parachutes, hopefully after this video you are, and how to install them, because that's what we're going to be doing today. Okay, so some of the tools that you're going to need to install the chute, I've got laid out here. I've got some adjustable wrenches here. If you know the size of this large bolt that actually holds the chute to the car, you can use the proper wrench. I'm kind of known for carrying around adjustable wrenches because you don't have to figure out which wrench is right. These are always right. And guess what? They're also a hammer. Then you'll have 4 bolts. Depending on what kit you have, maybe these are included, maybe they're not. You need to know what size those are. For my car, they're 11 millimeter, works best on that. So I've got a little ratchet and socket for that, as well as a wrench to hold it in place. And then the backing plate, which here's an example of what I'm talking about. This is the one that was on the prior chute. This plate actually bolts to the mount. You'll need to drill some holes in it, just like we have here, to match up to whatever the hole size is on your mount. So we've got a center punch here. I've got my drill here. Just got a step bit on there that works well for me. Or you can just use whatever size, bolt size that is. So not a lot of tools needed. There's really not much to it. Depending on your kit, this is what my mount looks like. Pretty basic. One thing I will mention is this is just a standard spring launcher. So there's a pilot chute in here, like I showed you on the old one. It has a big spring. Your cable's in here, and pop, chute comes out. How do you pick what chute you need? And I'm not talking about the different style. I'm talking about the actual chute itself. So parachutes are based on a couple things. How fast is your car going, and how much does it weigh? Under 200 mile an hour, you only need a single chute, but the size depends on speed and weight. Typically, a lot of the cars nowadays, this car weighs 3,000 pounds. Going 150 up to 200 is going to be Stroud's 430, 32. So that's the size that we have here. Probably the most common. When you get up to 200 mile an hour, then you need 2 chutes, and they are actually different from this. I believe they're actually a little smaller, so they can both fit behind the back of the car. But this is going to be probably, I bet, if I had to ask Stroud, I bet, I don't know, 60, 80% of what they sell is probably this size. So I'll show you a chart of that real quick. Just pop it up on the screen. Take a look at it. You can go to Stroud.com or type in parachute size. There's a few different ones. Each company does kind of have a different way that they do it, so make sure whatever company you go with, that is, you use their chart to pick it. So we've got our string here. So this is used to tie this bag back up. Make sure you do read all the instructions if you're not familiar with this. Right now they just have a little nail in here holding this closed, but I have a pin that goes in here. You probably see those red tags that say like remove before flight or what have you. I think Stroud sells one that's like 3 feet long. The one I have is just like a keychain style, a little bit smaller. So let's go ahead and open this up by pulling this pin out. And really this nail in here kind of is representing your cable. And that is not easy to grab onto. Okay. Now that that's out, the spring pressure is going to cause this to pop open, which this is literally what happens when you pull the handle and your cable comes out. Spring pops open. Now you're not going to have this giant string on here holding it back. But then, there you go. So now we're looking at the pilot chute. That's a little close for you guys, but that's the spring. Again, this is just kind of the standard style, standard model. Pop that dude out. Okay. So once that's out, how this is different from my RJS was, my RJS did not have what they call the D-bag. So the parachute itself actually sits inside a secondary bag, this one here. once we pull that out of the outer bag, so for the moment, I'm not going to take this out of here. I'll keep you guys in suspense as to what this looks like, but you're going to want to take all of this out. So see, this is no longer connected. This is what keeps it connected to the car. So obviously once this is bolted on, you can't just take it and run off with it. It's going to still be connected to the car, which is how it slows you down. So let's set that aside for the minute. Okay. And inside the bag is the plate that I spoke of. So here is the plate that we need to put holes in. Now, obviously, when you buy these, they don't come with any holes because everybody's mount is going to be a little different. And even you can tell here, this is the RJS and then this is the Stroud. So this plate is actually a little bit larger. I could probably just reuse this one if I really wanted to. But hey, we've got the Stroud. Let's go ahead and just use this plate and make sure everything's nice and happy. So we'll line that up nice and square. We'll double check it. I'm going to mark these holes with my Sharpie. If you don't, obviously, if this is your first chute, you're not going to have a plate to set on top. It's a template. So what you're going to need to do is set this on your mount and then mark the holes from the backside. So again, if your mount's here, put it up against the mount, take your Sharpie, mark it from the back, drill your holes. So I'm going to go ahead and put holes in this using my other template and then come back to you guys and show you what the next step is. Okay, so here's the plate inside the bag. What you want to do is make sure you've got all four corners of the plate lining up with these seams. That way you know it's in there level. I like to mark the plate, designating the front and an arrow up. If you ever have to take this off and put it back, you know, if the holes aren't quite in the right spot, you know, it's not perfectly center, that way you can put it back in the same spot and you should be able to line it up more easily. I'm going to, for this exercise, just use this Phillips screwdriver and literally just poke holes in the bag itself. And then if I need to, I can use the step bit to open it up a little bit. But typically, I like to keep the holes as small as possible. That way it just doesn't wear into the bag or anything. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to go ahead and attach this to the mount using our 4 bolts. And I'll come back to you guys when that's set. All right, so now the bag is mounted to, well, the mount. Just make sure you tighten up the bolts. I use some nylon lock nuts and some washers. Also, one thing I want to point out is I do have this cable mount bracket from Motion Raceworks. It keeps the cable just off to the side, and then you get a really good grab on the bag itself, making sure this thing isn't floppy and hanging down and falling out. I had this fall out one time at a race. I think tire shook 60 foot, and it caused the cable just to fall out and the whole thing fell down, so I immediately bought this. Additionally, if you notice the end of my cable, I've got a vacuum cap and then just some heat shrink. I made this before Motion sold their nice billet end that goes on here, so you know, either's an option. I think that billet piece is like, you know, $9 or something, so cheap. Easy to do, but you want to do that because the frayed end of the cable can get stuck on this little dude here and cause the chute not to open. I've had it happen to me, a friend had it to him, etc. Real quick, this was mostly about mounting the parachute itself, but as part of that, if you don't have a chute already, you know, you're going to need to do your cable. So mine runs through the back of the car. You can't see, well, you might be able to see it. The window is extremely dirty. Goes up the roll cage, through the back, sits, you can see it come up here, and it's just zip tied along, and then comes across, follows this line here, and goes into the handle here. And here's a good shot at the handle. So another Motion piece is their billet handle with air. So on my steering wheel, I have a button right here. I push the button, it opens the mag valve, puts air in here, and throws the handle, thus opening the chute. And like I said in the beginning of the video, if there is an issue with this system, I can still manually hit the chute. I really was not comfortable. One hand on the steering wheel, the other hand flopping around, trying to find the handle, trying to stay in it so the chute blooms, all going 160, 170 miles an hour, trying to find that. Some people put it like back here, up above their head. I don't know. I found this to be the easiest spot, and yeah, highly recommend this setup. It is hands down the best way to go. 269motorsports.com is your source for the parts you need on your daily driver, street car, or full-blown race car. They carry a wide variety of products stocked in-house, ranging from brake kits, camshafts, exhaust systems, fueling, safety, suspension, wheels, and more. All of this from great manufacturers such as Motion Raceworks, Michigan Motorsports, Ryan Tooley Racing, Tick Performance, and Weld Racing, to name a few. 269 Motorsports' mission is to provide the highest quality, fairest price auto parts backed by excellent customer service, which can often be lost with the larger aftermarket retailers. They understand that when their customers order parts, they generally need them ASAP. Therefore, they strive to ship out orders as quickly as possible. So reach out to let them be the source for your automotive needs. 269motorsports.com. All right, so our next step is going to be to go ahead and actually mount the parachute to the car. On the Stroud chute, you see here they've got a little tag made in the USA. That's to denote what needs to go up, because that will make a difference when we are trying to pack the chute, and I'll show you that here shortly. So go ahead and grab your bolt sleeve and get that guy set up. So simply, of course, slide it's kind of a two-part process. Put your spacer in between and slide that through, of course. Bolt. Pretty easy stuff. And again, this is what physically attaches the chute to the car and slows you down. Again, I'm back on my adjustable wrenches, so I'll go ahead and tighten this up, and then we'll move on to actually unpacking and repacking the chute. Right. Okay, so now the next part we're going to look at is taking the chute out of here. We're going to pretend like we just made a pass. You're coming back to the pits or wherever, and you need to go ahead and repack this. But first I got to unpack it. Now, when you get this from Stroud, it's packed. And so I have not yet seen the exact color combination that we've got going on here. So you guys are going to see it for the first time, just like I am. So let's go ahead and take it out of here. Ooh, see that purple? You guys know how to get purple, right? Oh man, that looks good. All right, so now we've got the canopy out. And you'll notice the D-bag sits on the back side here. We've got the pilot. Let's go ahead and unfold this thing. So not only is it purple, but we did a combo of purple-black. So Stroud, they'll let you do any combination you want, really. They've got a handful of colors, and so on. So we opted for the purple and black. I'm super excited to get some pictures from the track with this thing out and really see what it looks like behind the car. Honestly, it looks like a great match. Yeah, really excited to get the two-color combination going on. So we get this laid out flat, and then we'll walk through the process of actually folding this up and packing it back in the chute. All right, so now we're going to pack the chute. Step one, once you've got your parachute laid out behind the car, you'll want to go ahead and grab it from the top. Make sure that these cords are flat and straight inside of this, and you'll continue to walk backwards until you reach this point where you have your cords separating. You'll see we've got a nice little yellow tag here, gold tag. That designates the cord that we want to grab a hold of. So we'll take this top one and let the rest fall. We're going to walk this one back all the way to the canopy, keeping a tight grip on this one, keeping it taut against the car. Once we get to this point, you'll see we reach where the canopy begins. Take your two sides, kind of pull them out against each other, letting everything else fall. At this point, kind of give it a good shake, make sure all your lines are falling in place. If you see one that's hanging down, there we go. All right, so with both hands out, we'll go ahead and pull them together. Put it together like this. Make sure this is all tucked in here. We'll reach down and grab our third piece here with our right hand. All right, and we'll bring that up together. So now we've got all three pieces of the canopy together. Again, keeping this kind of taut. From there, we're going to fold it in half. Flip it over like this. Okay. this all nice and together. The first few times you're gonna need to practice a little bit. You're gonna go ahead and fold it again a second time. Keep this all nice and together. Again, the key is kind of keeping it taut against your body, pulling against the car. Otherwise, you'll end up dropping it. So grab the D-bag, kind of step over, put this up against yourself, and from here, you can start folding it into the bag. You want to kind of do like a zigzag pattern in here. That way you can get it to all fit. Just keep going back side to side, making sure you get a good pack in there. Okay, at this point we've got the entire canopy in the bag. And now we just need to go ahead and get the rest of the cables. So I'm going to grab the pilot chute, toss it over my shoulder, find it easier to carry it instead of dragging it on the ground. And now we're just going to go ahead and, same thing, zigzag back and forth. Doesn't have to be perfect, just keep these on top. Just continue to walk all the way up to the car. Alright, so now we've reached the point where we've hit our yellow tag again. We want to continue to put a bit more in here because we can't have all of this hanging down underneath the car. So we'll do that. Same idea. I'm going to set this on the ground to make it a little easier now. Alright, next step here, make sure that's all in. We'll take this flap, fold it over the top, and then tuck it in. The more compact you get the D-bag in here, the easier it is going to be to go ahead and actually pack the chute. So from this point, we're going to take our D-bag, make sure our pilot chute is pulled completely out. Give it a little tug there. We'll go ahead and place the D-bag in the bottom. What we want to do is have this part of the pilot chute actually facing the top of the bag here. So if you watch close, we're going to go ahead and put that in just like that. So again, pilot chute coming out, sitting on top like that. Okay. We've got a good amount here for what we want to hang down. We'll take our pilot chute, slowly just kind of wrap this around. I know I'm making this look incredibly easy. This one's a little different from my other chute, so I'm still learning as well. Okay. Once you have that, it doesn't need to be perfect. Once we have that set up, we can go ahead and compress this spring and start pulling the bag closed. So let's check that out. All right, for our last step of packing the chute, we need to compress our pilot spring. And then with a second set of hands, it's awfully helpful to have to go ahead and close up the flap. So we'll start at the top, make sure your string is through. We'll bring that across and down to the bottom. Put the string through the eyelets on the bottom. And then you'll pull that down and then up. And while doing so, kind of, shake it around, get everything out. We'll get our string here and get my thumb on it to hold it in place. Then we're going to go ahead and move over to our driver's side flap. Same idea, through, around and over, shake, put your thumb on it, and then we're going to end on the passenger side flap. The reason we're going to end on this flap is because our cable is actually on the driver's side. You want your last flap to be opposite of that. Pull that across, get your cable through, pull your string out. We like to pull it away from the cable so you don't accidentally pull the cable out. And from there you can kind of just tuck in the flaps, give it a little shake, make it look nice. I think our cable's not quite out all the way, but we're able to grab it there. If you're not going to be opening this for a minute, you might put your safety pin back in there, but make sure you remove that before you go make a pass. Alright guys, that was a quick how-to on how to mount a drag parachute as well as packing it, the procedures. Make sure in the off season, or if you have a long time before your next race, go ahead and take this out of the bag, hang it from the rafters or what have you in your garage, let it air out. We're going to be racing next weekend, so we're going to leave it in here and be ready to go. In between, we'll go ahead and put our tag on it like I mentioned. That way we don't accidentally deploy it. If you're going over 150, get you one of these guys, get you slowed down. You never know when you might need it. So hopefully you learned something, and we'll catch you on the next one.